Hello everyone and welcome back to our channel. Today, we re-diving into a classic fairy tale that has captivated hearts for generations. Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. This isn't just a story. It's a fantastic opportunity to learn English in a fun and memorable way. Once upon a time, in a faraway kingdom, lived a lovely little princess named Snow White. She was not only beautiful but also kind and gentle, loved by every creature in the land. The queen possessed a magic mirror, and every day she would ask it, "Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all?" This pleased the queen greatly, as she could not bear the thought of anyone being more beautiful than her. One morning, the queen asked her mirror the usual question, but this time the answer was different. The mirror replied, "My queen, you are fair, it is true. But Snow White is 1,000 times fairer than you." The queen was consumed by jealousy and rage. Her heart turned against Snow White, and she decided she could no longer tolerate her stepdaughter's presence. She summoned a huntsman and commanded him, "Take Snow White deep into the forest and get rid of her." He led Snow White into the dense woods, but when he drew his knife, he couldn't bring himself to harm the innocent princess. He then hunted a young boar and took its heart to the queen, deceiving her into believing Snow White was gone forever. The branches seemed to grab at her, and strange shadows danced all around. As evening fell, she stumbled upon a small, peculiar cottage nestled in a clearing. Everything was tiny and immaculately clean. There was a small table set with 7 little plates, 7 little cups, and 7 little loaves of bread. Hungry and tired, Snow White took a tiny bite from each loaf and a small sip from each cup, not wanting to take too much from any single one. Later that evening, the owners of the cottage returned home. Their names were Doc, Grumpy, Happy, Sleepy, Bashful, Sneezy, and Dopey. "Someone's been sitting in my chair," exclaimed one. "Someone's been eating from my plate," said another. "What a lovely child," they marveled. They decided not to wake her and let her sleep peacefully. The next morning, when Snow White awoke and saw the 7 dwarfs, she was frightened. But they were very friendly and asked her who she was. She told them her story about her wicked stepmother and how the huntsman had spared her life. The dwarfs felt sorry for her. "If you will keep house for us," they offered, "cook, make the beds, wash, sew." "Yes," said Snow White, "with all my heart." And so she stayed with the 7 dwarfs. Every morning they would go to the mountains to work, and she would have the house to herself. Meanwhile, back at the castle, the queen, believing Snow White was gone, went to her magic mirror. But over the hills with the 7 dwarfs, Snow White is still 1,000 times fairer than you. The queen realized she had been tricked. Furious, she decided to take matters into her own hands. She traveled to the dwarf's cottage and called out, "Pretty things for sale, cheap." Snow White, tempted by the beautiful laces, forgot the dwarf's warning and opened the door. The old woman offered to lace her bodice properly. Snow White, suspecting nothing, let her. But the wicked queen laced it so tightly that Snow White couldn't breathe and fell to the ground, appearing lifeless. "Now I am the fairest at last," cackled the queen as she hurried away. When the dwarfs returned that evening, they found Snow White lying on the floor. Horrified, they quickly saw the tight lacing and cut the laces. Snow White took a deep breath and slowly came back to life. After she told them what happened, the dwarfs were more insistent. "That was the wicked queen! You must be more careful. Don't let anyone in, no matter what." The queen, upon returning to her castle, consulted her mirror again, only to receive the same infuriating answer. She now knew Snow White was still alive. This time she crafted a poisoned comb. Disguising herself as a different old woman, she went back to the cottage. She offered the beautiful comb to Snow White, who was so taken with it that she allowed the woman to comb her hair. The moment the poisoned comb touched her head, the poison took effect, and she fell down unconscious. But once again, the dwarfs arrived just in time. They found the comb in her hair, removed it, and Snow White revived. They scolded her gently for her carelessness, and made her promise once more not to open the door to anyone. The queen returned home, her rage growing with each failure. The mirror's words were like daggers to her heart. She was determined to succeed. Using her darkest magic, she created her most wicked invention, a poisoned apple. It was beautiful, half red and half white. The red side was laced with a powerful poison so that a single bite would cause eternal sleep. For a third time, she disguised herself, this time as a simple farmer's wife. She offered the apple to Snow White, who was now very wary. I can't take anything, she said from the window. The clever queen replied, Are you afraid of poison? See, I will cut the apple in two. You eat the red half and I will eat the white half. The queen took a bite from the harmless white side. Snow White, seeing this and longing for the delicious-looking red half, took the apple and bit into it. Instantly, she fell to the ground. The queen laughed triumphantly. This time the dwarfs won't be able to wake you. She rushed back to the castle and finally, her mirror declared, You, my queen, are the fairest of them all. When the dwarfs came home, they found Snow White lying on the ground, and she was not breathing. They tried everything they could, but they could not revive her. She looked as if she were only sleeping, her cheeks still rosy and her skin as white as snow. They wept for 3 whole days. They couldn't bear to bury her in the dark ground, so they built a transparent glass coffin, placed her inside, and wrote her name in golden letters. They set the coffin on a mountaintop, and one of them always stayed to watch over it. A long time passed, and Snow White lay in her coffin, unchanged, looking as if she were only asleep. One day, a prince was riding through the forest and came upon the dwarf's cottage. He saw the glass coffin on the mountain and the beautiful maiden inside. He was so enchanted by her beauty that he fell in love with her at once. He begged the dwarfs to let him have the coffin, offering them anything they wanted. At first they refused, but the prince's grief was so sincere that they took pity on him and consented. The prince had his servants carry the coffin away. As they were carrying it, one of them stumbled over a tree root. The jolt dislodged the piece of poison apple from Snow White's throat. Her eyes fluttered open, she sat up and was alive again. Where am I? She asked, confused. The prince, overjoyed, rushed to her side. You are with me, he said. He told her everything that had happened and declared his love for her. He asked her to be his wife. Snow White, seeing his kind and loving face, agreed. A grand wedding was planned, and everyone in the kingdom was invited, including Snow White's wicked stepmother. The queen, dressed in her finest clothes, asked her magic mirror one last time. Magic mirror on the wall, who is the fairest of them all? The mirror replied, My queen, you are fair, it is true. But the young queen is 1,000 times fairer than you. The evil queen was shocked and filled with a terrible fear, but her curiosity was so great that she had to go to the wedding to see her rival. When she arrived and saw that the new queen was none other than Snow White, she stood frozen with rage and terror. As a punishment for her wickedness, iron slippers had been heated over a fire. She was forced to put them on and dance in them until she fell down, never to rise again. And so, Snow White and her prince lived happily ever after, ruling their kingdom with kindness and fairness for many long years. What a journey! This story is rich with descriptive language and a clear narrative, making it perfect for practicing your listening and comprehension skills. We encountered words like vain, wicked, consumed by jealousy, and disguised. Try using them in your own sentences. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you enjoyed the story of Snow White and learned some new English along the way. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories. See you next time.